goods have entered, after goods have, we say, have entered what we call the country. After the goods have entered the country. Then freight, F stands for what we call freight. So freight up to the point of entry, say transportation cost from the country of origin, transportation cost, we say up to what we call the point of entry, the point of what we call of entry. So transportation cost up to what we call the point of entry. Again, this exclude freight after goods have entered the country. Excludes freight. We call it after the goods have entered into what we call into the country. After the goods have entered into the country. I hope that is understood. So custom duty is basically based on CFR. On our calculations for VAT, you notice that altogether. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that? You notice that. Then there's an entry that I put in those notes, just basically implying that VAT has what we call VAT on import is charged on CFI. VAT, we know this, and we always cover that VAT is charged on CFI up to the point of entry. It is always exclusive of VAT. So we normally charge VAT after charging the import duty on those commodity, then we charge the VAT. But that VAT should always be exclusive, or it should always be exclusive, meaning 16 over 100. Meaning 16 over 100. Together tip, meaning 16 over 100. Meaning 16 over 100. Together tip. Remember, VAT has a cascading effect on import. We charge it after import, charging import duty. We charge it after charging what we call the import duty. So reasons for imposition of custom duty. Why do you charge import duty? Reasons for what we call for imposition, what we call imposition of what we call of the custom duty. Why do we charge custom duty? Why do we charge custom duty? Why do we charge custom duty? So one of the first reasons, because it's tax, raise tax revenue for the government. We say raise what we call tax revenue. We say tax revenue for what we call for the government, to raise what's called the tax revenue for the government. The first reason to raise tax revenue for the government, restriction of import of goods into the country. Restriction, we call it restriction of what we call of import of goods, call it into what we call into the country. So restrict importation of goods into the country. How do you restrict? By raising what's called the import duty. How do we restrict? We call it by raising. The word is raising what's called the import duty. You make it very expensive to import goods into the country. Are we together? Then protect local industry from competition from outside the country. Protect. The next is protect local industry, and you say from competition, and you call it from what you call from outside the country, to basically protect what you call the local industry from what you call from competition outside the country. And lastly is to prevent what you call dumping. We call it prevent dumping. Lastly, to prevent dumping. I want to explain what dumping is. Karibu Meshak. I want to explain what dumping is. So whenever we talk about dumping, this is where cheap and substandard product or goods of poor quality are sold within a country at a lower price after being imported from outside the country. That is what's called dumping. Dumping is where cheap and substandard products, that basically means products of low quality, get their way into the country and are sold at cheaper price after being imported outside the country. So raising custom duty is one of the ways to prevent what we call dumping. If we are together, we respond with yes. So then Malimo goes to ways of preventing dumping. We proceed to what's called ways of what we call of preventing. We call it preventing what we call dumping. Ways of preventing what we call the dumping. Remember, tax is 50-50, most likely 50-50. Calculation 50, theory 50. So be very careful. Calculation 50, theory 50. So how do we prevent dumping? How do we not allow cheap and substandard product get their way? So number one is raising custom duty. One is to raise custom duty, and what's called and other taxes. Raise the custom duty and other taxes. It becomes very difficult. It becomes very expensive to import altogether. Then you have impose complicated. We call it impose what we call complicated. We call it complicated procedures. Impose what we call complicated procedures. Make it very hard to get those goods altogether. Ban importation of substandard product. You can ban importation of what they call of substandard products. Ban importation of what they call the substandard product. You ban what they call importation of a substandard product. And say, impose every penalty on those who contravene. Impose what you call every penalty on those who contravene, what we call legal procedures. So impose what we call every penalties on those who basically contravene what we call the legal procedures. Make it every penalty for them. So as a way of preventing what we call the dumping altogether. Strengthen cabs to monitor goods entering the country. So you can talk about strengthen cabs to monitor, call it monitor, goods entering the country, goods entering what's called the country. So strengthen the cabs to monitor goods that are entering the country. Strengthen cabs to monitor goods that are entering the country. Then you can talk about surveillance camera. Put surveillance camera to monitor, surveillance camera, and the essence is to monitor goods entering the country at border boards. So that's how we prevent what we call dumping. Tafadhali bonyeza yes kama tuko pamoja. Please, PFT theory will give you 50%. That's why we have to cover everything. So then we go to documents used in relation to what we call custom duty. Documents used in relation to custom duty. Documents, we call it documents. We call it used in relation. The word is in relation to what? To the custom duty. In relation to what they call the custom duty. So we have documents used and say in relation to the custom duty. So this is a common question. Even in the last exam, we had this question. Documents that are used in relation to the custom duty. Documents that are used in relation to the custom duty. So number one is what's called custom entry form. One, we call it the custom. Call it the entry form. Custom entry form. Custom entry form. So when we talk about custom entry form, is used to fill details relating to goods imported into the country. Fill details. Fill what's called details. Details relating to goods. We'll say being imported. The word is imported into what we call into the country. Goods being imported into the country. To fill details on goods that are basically being imported in the country. So while we have the name of the goods, we'll have one of the detailed names of what we call the goods. Names of the goods. We'll have what's called names of the goods. Clearing and forwarding agent. we have what we call clearing, and what we call the forwarding agent. Clearing and what we call the forwarding agent. Clearing and the forwarding agent will have details on country of origin, country of what we call of origin. We have the country of origin. We have the country of origin, country of destination, what we call the country of what we call of destination, where they're going to, country of destination. We have the country of destination. Then we also have what we call description. Description of what we call of goods. That is description of the goods. Naomba unipatie yes kama tuko pamoja. Naomba unipatie yes. That is the first document, custom entry form. So that is the first one. Then the next we call it the bill of what we call landing. The bill of landing. The bill of landing. So it say is a certificate of ownership. We call it a certificate of ownership. Is a certificate of ownership of goods being transported. Certificate of ownership. Certificate. We say of ownership. Of ownership. We say of goods being. Certificate of ownership of goods being imported from one country to another. Of goods being imported from what we call one country, from one country to another. Of goods being imported from one country to another. So we say in airway, we call it airway. We call it airway bill. So together, we call it the airway. In airway carriage, we call it the airway bill. But it's certificate of ownership of goods being imported from one country to another. Tuko pamoja. Nipatie yes. So then there's what's called we call it the CFR. We call it certificate clean report of finding. We call it the clean CRF, clean report, not claim, but that is clean report of finding. We call it clean report, CRF, report of what we call of finding. Finding. We normally call it the CRF, clean report of finding. So the CRF, which is the clean report of finding, you need to understand that this is what we call a certificate issued by a shipment inspection company. Certificate issued, certificate, we say issued by what's called by a shipment. We call it shipment company. This is a certificate that is issued by a shipment company. What does this certificate basically contain, good people? What information does this certificate basically contain? It shows that goods imported are fit for importation. It shows that goods are fit for importation. Goods, we say, are fit for what we call for importation. It basically shows that the goods are fit for importation. It shows that the goods are fit for importation. The value of goods, it tells us the value of what we call of goods. The value of goods. But lastly, we have what we call value of goods is used to compute duty, which is used to do what? Compute what we call duty payable. Out here. Clean report of finding, which is a CRF. Together, clean report of finding, which is a CRF. Clean report of finding, which is CRF. It shows that goods are basically fit for importation. But on it, you have the value of goods, which can be used to calculate what's called the duty payable. Nipatie yes. Nipatie yes. Team nipatie yes. Sacrifices are have to be made. So then we have what's called purchase invoice. purchase invoice. Purchase invoice. Calculations we have done much. So these ones also have to be taken care of. They have to be taken care of. So purchase invoice. So this is issued by original seller of goods to the importer. Issued by original seller, issued by what's called by the original seller towards to the importer, importer of what called goods, to the importer of goods. They are issued by the original seller to who? To the importer of goods, to the importer of goods. So it shows the value of goods imported. It shows what we call the value of goods imported. It shows what's called the value of goods imported, which is used to compute duty paid payment, which is used to compute what we call the duty payable. Simple pamoja, which is used to compute duty payable. Nipatie yes tafadhali hapo pamoja. Nipatie yes kama tuko pamoja. I want us to make great sacrifices. Tafadhali, great sacrifices. I want us to make great sacrifices as we move to the end. Then you have port release. We call it release order. Port release order. Port release order. So issued by Kenya Ports Authority, we understand that issued by what's called by Kenya Ports Authority, issued by Kenya Ports Authority, issued by what's called Kenya Ports Authority to the importer, to what they call to the importer, to allow what's called release, of goods, to basically allow release of goods, we say from the port, from what we call from the port, to allow release of goods from the port. It reduces what called theft of goods, reduce theft of at the port. So this reduces what called theft at what called at the port. It does reduce what we call theft at the port. Then we have what's called import declaration form. We have it, call it import declaration. We call it declaration form. We have what's called the import declaration form. We have what's called the import declaration form. Are we together? Import declaration form. Are we together? Import declaration form. So I want us to pick a few questions. I think that question was tested. I want us just to pick a few questions. Let me just confirm when that question was tested, just for us to understand where we are coming from. A few questions so that we understand where we are coming from. A few things for us to understand where we are coming from. So I want us to open, I think, August 2024. Open paper for August, as I also opened it. Send it to the group, and we open it. August or December, there's a question on that. Open August 2024. August 2024. Have you opened that August? Have you opened that August? Open that August. Shared. Let me open it. I'm trying to get it from. I think I have a mastery of that. So look at import declaration form. Are you seeing import declaration form? Are you seeing what we have as the import declaration fee? Do we have it as import declaration fee? So on that particular question, we had duty drawbacks, we have suffering swap, we had import declaration, just to show you how it together. Question 4. Yes, I was just showing you some of the things as we do them. Where do we find them? How it together? So that's one of the areas where we find them. So we get back to where we will answer them all. Don't worry. I will say that we get back to where we were. We get back to where we were. Just a minute to get back to where we are on those notes. So import declaration form, that was a fee. So import declaration form, we basically say that issued to any person who intends to import goods. Issued to any person, we say issued to any person who intends, we say intends to import goods. Issued to any person that we say who intends to import goods. Are we together? It is used for it is basically used for payment of import declaration fee. For payment of import declaration. Payment for what we call for import. Import, we say import declaration fee. For payment of import declaration fee. We are going to revise, don't worry, for payment of import declaration fee. Then you have what's called the custom receipts. Customs receipt. We have what's called the custom receipts. Please, today, I just intend to persevere. Are we together? So vouchers issued and payment of custom duties and other taxes. Vouchers issued on what we call on payment of what we call of custom duty, you say in other term and other taxes. Payment of custom duty and what's called other taxes. Vouchers that are issued on payment of custom duty and other taxes. Tuko sawa on payment of custom duty and other taxes. Naomba mnipatie yes. Please naomba tumvumilie. Please don't get tired. I beg you. Don't get tired. So then we proceed to what we call bond security. Bond security. We proceed to what's called a bond security. Bond security. I will be giving you breaks. Before I leave here, I will be giving you breaks. Sawa. There will be breaks. I will be giving you breaks, so you don't need to worry. So we start with the bond security. So we said that the bond security is a written, we call it written agreement between what's called between the importer, and we'll revise this. Between the importer, we have what's called a written agreement between the importer, between the importer or the person importing, and custom department. Importer and the custom department. A written agreement between the importer and the custom department together. Are we together? So the importer promises to pay the importer promises, we say promises to pay. The word is to pay an equal amount. The importer basically promises to pay what you call an equal amount. The importer basically says promises to pay an equal amount to the duty, an equal amount to the duty, in case conditions of agreements are breached. In case conditions of what we call of agreements, we say are breached. In case conditions of agreements are basically breached. In case conditions, we call it of agreements are breached. In case conditions, we say of agreements are breached. Importer promising to pay an equal amount in case conditions of a bond of agreements are breached. Together, we respond with a yes. Tubonyeza yes. So these agreements are usually secured by what we call a financial institution. These agreements are usually secured by a financial institution. So we talk about forms of security, forms of what we call security, forms of a security in relation to this one, forms of what we call security. So we have what we call a cash deposit. We have a cash deposit as a form of security. We have a bond security. And then we have what we call use of guarantees. So in the forms of security, apart from the bond, we have cash security, and we say that they're usually secured by financial. These agreements are secured by financial institution too. I'll say these agreements are normally are usually secured by a financial institution. So bond security, a written agreement between an importer and the customs authority, where an importer basically promises to pay an equal amount if conditions are in the bond are usually breached. Are we together? So then, these forms of security, we have what we call a cash security. Are we together? So this is taxpayer deposit cash with custom department. Are we together? So cash deposit is what we call as a form of security. A taxpayer basically deposit cash deposit with custom department to ensure payment of tax. Are we together? An importer deposits what we call cash with custom department to ensure payment of what we call tax. Together. Bond security we've discussed. Taxpayers required to deliver legal document showing ownership of asset that they will use to enter into a binding commitment altogether to fulfill obligation. So this one is in form of asset set together. This is cash together with customs authority to ensure payment of tax. Guaranteed is a person who stands in for the importer. Are we together? Then we also have form partly bond and partly cash. They can be partly bond, you can have it partly bond or partly cash, or what's called partly cash. We can have it partly bond and partly cash. Nimeshukuru. So discharge of a bond. We talk about discharge of a bond. So what I call discharge of what we call a bond. Discharge of what we call a bond. We talk about discharge. I'll take time to revise a few questions. Discharge of what we call of a bond. We have it as a discharge of a bond. I hope you'll do better. You do amazingly well, like the students that we had for the last semester. Are we together? We want you to do even better than the students that we had last semester. Yes. We want to see you at the top. That is our prayer, that we see you at the top. That you make us proud. So when we talk about discharge of a bond, whenever we talk about discharge of a bond, we are basically saying that a bond can be withdrawn on conditions altogether. The bonds can basically be withdrawn on conditions altogether. So bond can be withdrawn on conditions altogether. So we say that bonds can basically discharges, bond can be withdrawn, can be withdrawn, can be, the word is withdrawn, on what's called on conditions. On conditions. Are we together? On conditions, bond can be withdrawn. So we say if conditions are fulfilled, one, conditions, we say are fulfilled. And then the second we talk about expiry. We call it expiry of 3 years. The commissioner may discharge a bond. Expiry of 3 years. Expiry of what we call 3 years. And the commissioner may initiate, call it initiate what's called a fresh bond. The commissioner may basically initiate what's called a fresh bond. On expiry of what we call 3 years, the commissioner may initiate for a fresh bond together. So when commissioner requires a fresh bond or security, when a commissioner requires what we call a fresh bond, so what we call security. This coming week is for BFT. Awiko, remind the class that this coming week, I'm focused on this class for public finance, the early morning classes. This coming week, my focus is on this class. Yes. So this coming week, my focus is on you. I'm there to help this class finish the syllabus perfectly well. So when a commissioner initiates for what we call a fresh bond or security, or what we call security. So what are those instances? When insanity or guarantor, in case of insanity or guarantor dies. One, in case of what we call insanity or guarantor dies. So in case of insanity or the guarantor dies, there can be initiation of a new bond. Then we say that when guarantor is declared bankrupt, when guarantor is declared bankrupt, when a guarantor is basically declared bankrupt, or enter into scheme of compensation with creditor. So when importer departs from Kenya, when the importer, we say departs from Kenya without having sufficient property to satisfy without having sufficient property, without having what's called sufficient property to satisfy the whole amount of bond. To satisfy what we call the whole amount of bond. To basically satisfy the whole amount of bond. Does not have sufficient property to satisfy the whole amount of bond. On expiry of 3 years, we say on expiry, lastly, on expiry of what we call 3 years. We say on expiry of 3 years, it is deemed reasonable to ask for a fresh security. So those are circumstances where commissioners may require a fresh bond. In case of insanity or guarantor dies, when guarantor is declared bankrupt, when the importer departs from Kenya without leaving sufficient property to satisfy the old bond, then on expiry of 3 years. So those are conditions that where we say that the commissioner may request for a fresh bond. Together. Perfect. Areas where bond can be used. A bond can be used as security, to say as an NP. A bond can be used, we say as security. Security, we say in the following. Circumstances. So a bond can basically be used as security in the following circumstances. In what we call the following circumstances. A bond can basically be used as security, and we say in the following circumstances. Let us know those circumstances can be used as security, and we say in the following circumstances. Goods in a bonded warehouse. We say one is goods in what we call a bonded warehouse. Goods in a bonded warehouse. I want us to differentiate two things altogether. We have what we call a custom warehouse and what we call a bonded warehouse altogether. So we have two things: custom warehouse. On this, we have what we call custom warehouse, and then we have what we call a bonded warehouse. We have a custom warehouse, and then we have what we call a bonded warehouse. So a custom warehouse, we store goods under bond. We basically store goods. We call it under a bond. That is custom warehouse. On the other side, when you talk about what we call a custom warehouse, we store goods whose duty have not been paid. Store goods. This is bonded. Goods under bond. Goods under bond. So this goods whose duty, we say have not been paid. Goods whose duty, we say have not been paid. We store goods whose duty have not physically been paid. So that is the first circumstance in a bonded warehouse where you apply a bond. Circumstances where bond will be used. So the second, we can also talk about goods in transit. We can apply bonds on goods in what we call in transit. And lastly, we have three. We say that goods used to manufacture and the bond. Goods we say used to do what? To manufacture. We call it under a bond. Goods used to manufacture under a bond. Are we together? Are goods imported, additional processings are done, and goods are exported without being used in the country. So goods are used in manufacture and a bond. Together, we respond with a yes on that. So allow me to do a few things, then I give you a break. Powers of custom and excess duty. Powers of custom. Powers of what we call custom and what we call excess duty. Officer in relation, we call it in relation to what? To custom and what we call excess duty. So what we call powers of custom and excess duty officer in relation to what we call custom and excess duty. So what are those powers that they have? Power to require a vessel to depart from Kenya territory. Power, we call it power to do what? To require a vessel to depart. We call it depart from Kenyan territory. territory. So power to basically require a vessel we say to depart from Kenyan territory. Power to require a vessel to basically depart from Kenyan territory. Power to enter a vessel and make a search. Power, we call it power to enter a vessel, we call it vessel, and you say and make what you call make a search. A search. Power to enter a vessel and make a search. We just do 5. They say power to seal premise under search. Power to seal what you call premise, and call it under search. Power to basically seal a premise under search. Then we can talk about power to enter and search a premise. Power to enter what we call a premise, and make a search. We call it make what we call a search. Enter premise and make a search. Where dutable goods are stored. Where dutable goods, goods we say are stored. Where dutable goods are basically stored. To make a search, where dutable goods are basically stored together. And the last one we can talk about power to require goods entering, power to require goods, to inquire about goods being imported or exported out of the country. Power to inquire about goods that are imported or exported out of the country. Together, are we together? To make an inquiry of goods being imported or exported outside the countries. Together, team, yes. So then we talk about goods under control, goods that are under control, goods under control of custom and excise duty officers. What are these goods that are under control of custom and excise duty officers? What are these goods that are normally under the control of custom and excise duty officers? What are these goods? Number 1 is goods chargeable to custom and excise duty. Goods chargeable, chargeable to excise, to custom, and what's called and excise duty. Excise duty. These are under control. Those are dutable goods. So unaccustomed duties, unaccustomed goods. We have the next unaccustomed goods. So when you talk about unaccustomed goods, these are goods whose duty have not been paid. Alan, unaccustomed goods, these are goods whose duty have not been paid. That's what you call unaccustomed goods. These are always under the control. Then you say restricted goods. Restricted, we have the next as restricted goods. So these are goods whose importation and exportation is under special circumstances. Then you have the next, call it prohibited goods. These are goods whose importation or exportation is not allowed. These are under the control of custom duty. Then we say seized or forfeited goods. Seized or forfeited. Call it forfeited goods. These are under the control of custom and excise duty officer. Then say duty drawback. Duty drawback from time of claim or duty drawback. Duty drawback from the time of claim. We can talk about goods stored in custom warehouse. Goods stored in custom warehouse. Goods, we say stored in what's called in custom warehouse. Goods that are stored in custom warehouse. Tuko sawa? Do you need a break? Do you want a small breather? We can proceed. Do you need a small breather? Or we can proceed. How many minutes? Let me know. Let me know how many minutes, breather. That's okay. You can kickstart. Are we there? If you're there, we'll respond to this. We respond with a yes. So we respond with a yes. We respond with a yes. Kama tuko pamoja, tubonyeze yes. If we are there, then we respond with yes. Are we there? Can you respond with yes if we are there? So these are goods under the control of custom and excess duty officers. Goods under the control of custom and excess duty officers. So I want us to talk about drawback, duty drawback. We just define what's called duty drawback. Then we get two questions on this. So what we call the duty drawback. What we call the duty drawback. So duty drawback. So don't get started. So whenever we talk about duty drawback, it refers to refund of duty or taxes and fee paid on imported goods that are later exported. Refund of duty or taxes that are paid on imported goods that are later exported or used in production of goods later exported. Refers to refund of duty, so what we call taxes paid, so what we call taxes paid on imported goods, on what's called on the imported goods, on what's called imported goods that are later exported, or used to do what? Used in production of goods, or used in production of goods that are later exported, or in production of goods that are of goods, production used, or production of what we call goods that are later exported. Goods that are exported. Tumelewana. Refund of duty or goods, refund of duty or taxes paid on goods that are later exported, or production of goods that are later exported. Tumeelewana. Tafadhali bonyeza yes kama tumeelewana. So then we have what's called prohibited goods. We move to what we call prohibited goods. Prohibited goods. If an examiner brings in an exam and tells you prohibited goods. So prohibited goods, these are goods whose importation or exportation are not allowed under any circumstance. Importation, or what's called exportation isn't allowed in any circumstance, So you're saying importation or exportation isn't allowed in any circumstance. Those are what we call prohibited goods. So importation or exportation isn't allowed in any circumstances. So we have what's called examples. So when you told example, we have indecent writing, so what we call painting. This is prohibited, indecent goods or painting. We have added drugs like cocaine, that are prohibited. Then you can talk about false or counterfeit money, false or so what we call counterfeit money, false to what we call counterfeit money, The importation is not allowed. Hazardous waste product. We have hazardous waste product. So then we have what we call article with ensign of court. Article with an ensign of what we call of the coat of arms. So these are prohibited. You cannot import or export under any circumstance. Then we proceed to what's called restricted goods. Look up. The next is what's called restricted goods. Restricted goods. Restricted goods. Then you go to restricted goods. Whenever we talk about restricted goods, we're saying their importation or exportation is only done when a late procedure is followed. Exportation or importation only possible when there is what we call a laid down procedure. When there is a laid down procedure, that is for the importation. So those are restricted goods. They're only allowed when a laid down procedure is there. Are we together? So one of the restricted goods is traps for wild animals. Traps for what we call for wild animals. You'll be asked this, what are restricted goods? Don't say Molibo did not teach. Yes, those are traps for wild animals. We have what's called traps for wild animals. Traps for what we call wild animals. Traps for what we call the wild animals. Traps for wild animals. We have tear gas. Tear gas. This was tear gas. Tear gas. Then you have guns and ammunition. Guns and what's called ammunition. Guns and ammunition. There must be laid out procedures. Then we have ivory item and game animals. Ivory item, and we can also have game animals. You cannot game animals, ivory item, and then we have what we call game animals. Imeeleweka. Understood. We'll respond with the yes. So then I talk about what's called forfeiture of goods. Forfeiture of what we call of goods. Forfeiture of what we call goods. So when you talk about forfeiture of goods, you're losing ownership of your goods to the custom authority. So whenever we talk about forfeiture of goods, this is where one loses ownership of goods to the custom authority. You are losing what's called ownership of goods to what we call to the custom authority. Are we together? Losing ownership of goods to the custom authority, where importer or exporter loses what we call ownership of goods to the custom authority. The circumstances where you can lose those goods, circumstances, tumelewana. Every time you see forfeiture is where an importer or an exporter loses ownership of the goods to the custom authority. What are these circumstances where an importer or exporter can basically lose ownership of goods to the custom authority? So goods imported or exported, disguised in a manner. Goods imported or exported, we call it disguised in what's called in a manner to defraud. We'll say to defraud custom authority. These ones, they will be taken. You will lose ownership. So you can lose ownership on those circumstances. So goods imported or exported disguised to deceive custom authority, to defraud or deceive custom authority, defraud or what we call deceive, defraud, so deceive custom authority. Together, alone, custom authority. The second circumstance we can talk about goods whose duty have not been paid. So you just call them unaccustomed goods. Goods whose duty have not been paid. You will lose that ownership of those goods to the custom authority. Then you have prohibited goods. When you have counterfeit money, it will be taken. Are we together? Then we also have restricted goods without restricted goods. Restricted goods. This is when laid down procedures have not been followed. When laid down procedures who says, I've not been followed, I've not been followed. So when laid down procedures have not been followed. So we have restricted goods, especially when laid down procedures have not been followed. You will lose ownership to what? To the custom authority. Tuko pamoja. We respond with a yes. I just want to talk about this. This you'll get in, you'll read it in the handout, but I want to summarize it. Are we attentive? Focus should be where money boys. For those who are doing importation in class, so we have what's called the Simba systems to what we call integrated custom management system altogether. The Simba systems to what we call integrated custom management system. For those who are basically doing importation altogether. So when you talk about the Simba system, I'm just talking about it. Are we attentive? Please give me your ears. I really need your ears. Kindly give me your ears. Asante. So when you talk about the Simba system, I don't want to write it, I just want to discuss it. It's an application that helps smoothly shipping and clearing of goods into and out of the ports altogether. So if you look at the Simba system, it was a system that was basically used to allow shipping and clearing goods into and out of the port operation altogether. That is what we called the Simba system. Together, team, we called the Simba system. That is what we called the Simba system. That is what we basically called the Simba system. That is what we called the Simba system. That is what we called the Simba system for clearing goods at the port altogether. So Simba system was basically replaced by what we call integrated custom management system. Are we together? Are we together? This software, are we together? Was basically replaced by what we call integrated custom management system. Are we together? It was for clearing goods at the port into or out of the port. It was basically replaced by what we call integrated custom management system. Are we together? So we have reasons why Simba system was basically replaced. Do you have them in the notes? Do you have them in the notes? We have them in the notes. So there was breakdown with the Simba system, the software that was being used. Simba system was only used one browser, that is a Window Explorer. Then you say ICM basically minimized manual system because as a result of breakdown. And lastly, down there, I've talked about benefits of integrated custom management system, reduction in the cost of paying taxes, expanded the tax payment channel, reduction in cargo clearance time. This will basically reduce document management system, increased compliance and exemption. That is from the Simba and the ICM together, team, and the ICM. Together, we respond with this. I want now to revise that. I want to do a revision on this. For about how many minutes? 25 minutes. Revision for 25 minutes on custom and excess. Tumelewana. So we call it blocks for custom and excess duty. I just want you people to be prepared. I don't want to leave anything, and God should help us in this custom and excise duty. Custom and excess duty block. What is happening? Back. So we have custom, what we call custom, and what we call excise duty. Excise duty blocks. So as usual, Mwalimu starts with what? August 2025. Send the paper for August 2025. August 2025. Tuangalie that area. August 2025. Send it to the group. August 2025. We'll start with that. August 2025. Send that paper. Nimeomba haraka so that we August Send that. Send that. As the paper been sent, August 2025. Tafadhali 5 minutes to talk the upper. So let's look at that paper. We'll start with that. If I revise 2025, I'm revising this for 2025, the whole of 2025 and 2024. The others you'll get, I'll give you revision. I'll give you theory revision, that is from 2025 to all the way to 2015. Theory for revision. There's a revision that I've prepared. So we'll look at that paper where we have that question. If there was something on custom and excise, let Mwalimu see that. Let's check. So look up the first one. You're being told question 4. Look at question 4. I want you to look at question 4. Are we on question 4? Are we on question 4? Question 4. Question 4. Are we on it? Tafadhali. Question 4. Are we on it on question 4? Tafadhali. Question 4. There it is on question 4, custom. So this was so open. So the examiner asks you, Agrotech Limited Kenya Importers has received shipment of agricultural machinery from Germany, which has arrived at the port of Mombasa. As the appointed custom clearing agent, explain for essential import document you'd utilize to ensure shipment is processed. Import document that you'd utilize to ensure that the shipment is basically the shipment is processed and delivered with a Kenyan law. With a Kenyan law. What are those documents? So easy. One is commercial invoice. So one is what's called the commercial. So that is August 2025. August 2025. The first one is what's called commercial invoice. Are we together? That is the first document. We call it commercial invoice. Tuko pamoja. Commercial invoice. Tuko pamoja, Kate. Are we together? So on commercial invoice is basically what we call transaction value. So it's transaction. We have what we call transaction value. The transaction value. Seller in terms of seller. Seller in what we call the terms of seller. Or what we call seller. Seller in the term. So that is the first one, commercial invoice together. But at one that we do not mention, we have what we call packaging list. You'll add that. We can also have packaging, we call it list. So packaging list. So the packaging list are together. Details of the content are together. Detail, this is basically detail of the content. Detail of what we call of the content. This will basically carry what's called the detail of the content. Together, Alan, Aji, Natalie, Meshach. Then you have bill of landing. We'll also have bill of landing, bill of what we call landing, bill of lading. Bill of lading. Show proof of shipment. That is proof of shipment required. So that's ownership. Ownership. Then you have import declaration form. IDF, import declaration form. Import declaration form. I will tell you mandatory for all import. Mandatory for all importer. You can also have certificate, what you call certificate of what you call of origin, certificate of origin, certificate of origin, proof of goods country origin. So this proofs of country origin, proofs of what you call of goods origin. There is what you call the proofs of goods origin. Is this thing in the notes? So that is enough. That was about 4 marks. We have done much. IDF, mandatory for all those who are importing. Is that question satisfactorily sorted? So for the others, you had 4 marks in that area, and we've sorted that 4 marks. Are we going to go solve? That 4 marks is done. That 4 marks is done. Together, the 4 marks is done. Yes. Proceed with the question. You want to type or you want to talk? We were to explain. So appointed by custom essential documents that are used, not a must. Not a must. We were giving this thing, even if you mention, we were basically giving together. If a student mentioned, we were giving the marks. Yes, the marks was being given. We can also have custom entry form. Those forms that you talk about custom entry form. These marks we are giving even if you don't use together. So that particular year, we do not have, for that year, we do not have any other for that. So I want us to go to April 2025. April 2025. April 2025. Send that paper again. April 2025. April 2025. Give me April 2025. April 2025. So go to April, send the April 25 paper. April 2025. April 2025. April 2025. Send the April 2025. April 2025. April 2025. Send it. And we revise the old 2024, and the rest you will basically April 2025. Give me the April 2025. Kindly. April 2025. April 2025 paper. Sent. So then we open it. So let's open it. So look at this. We have the first one. Analyze 4 circumstances under which excess duty could be refunded to the taxpayer. Circumstances, that is 4. We have it as 4. We have it as 4B. Circumstances, 4B. Circumstances, we call it circumstances, under which excise duty, we have excess duty, we say can be refunded, can be refunded to the taxpayer. Circumstances where excess duty can be refunded to the taxpayer. Circumstances under which excess duty can be refunded. Do we have that in our notes? I normally love that. Do we have that in our notes? Do you have that in our notes? Somebody is like to say Mwalimu Atuna. Do we have it in our notes? Do you have that in our notes? Circumstances where excess duty can be refunded to the taxpayer. Yes or no? Kindly, yes or no? We have it. So, goods imported are damaged or destroyed in voyage. Goods imported are damaged to what we call destroyed. Goods that are imported are damaged or destroyed during voyage, during what's called voyage into the country, during voyage into the country. Duty paid in error. Duty paid in error, or what's called paid. Duty paid in error or prepaid. So they're saying buyer has returned goods to the sender. Buyer has returned the goods to the sender. Goods are returned to the sender. Are we together? So goods damaged under excise control. Goods damaged. Goods, we call it damaged under excess control. These goods were damaged under the control of excise altogether. Are we together? So goods that are imported that are used to manufacture goods. For example, we can talk about spirits altogether. Goods used in respect of spirits, which have subsequently been used to manufacture. So goods that are imported but they have been subsequently used to manufacture. Those ones duty can be refunded. For example, you have imported but have subsequently used to manufacture together, plus what we have in the notes. Is that done perfectly well? Is that perfectly done? So that was April. Nokabi tuko pamoja. Kate, give me a yes if you're together, Kate. Kate, anybody yes? Come on, pamoja. So then we go to December 2024, we revise 2024, then the rest December 2024. We have DEC 2024. We have DEC 2024. Send the paper for DEC 2024. Send that paper for DEC 2024. Send DEC 2024. Send the DEC 2024. DEC 2024. Send the paper for DEC 2024. DEC 2024. Forward it again so that Mwalimu can have it. Forward it. So just forward it again. Forward it so that Mwalimu can have it. Where can Mwalimu have it? Are we going forward it again, DEC? Thanks for the good work, Awiko. So let's look at that December. So on that December, most likely question 4 and 5 for that So question 3A. Let's have 3A. Question 3A. Question 3A. But that was more of a general question. Question 3A. Look at that question 3A. Let's look at that 3A. So explain 4 benefits that accrue to a country which is under East African Community from harmonizing what we call tariff classification and custom procedures among East Africa. Harmonization. So this was basically talking about benefits from harmonization of what we call tariffs among EAC, East African Community. Was this a general question? If I say that this is a general question, when you harmonize tariffs, when you basically harmonize tariff, what is the benefit of harmonization of tariffs? When a country basically harmonizes tariffs, what is the benefit of that? So you make trading process, you simplify trading process. This is what simplified, we call it simplified trading processes. So when you simplify, you know that when you get to the border, you simplify. Intercountry trade, definitely. Cost reduction, you also reduce cost because I'm in the charge high. Cost reduction, we have what we call the cost reductions. We have what we call the cost reduction, but also facilitate trade. Enhance, people will comply. Enhances what we call compliance. Enhances what we call the compliance. We also have facilitate economic integration. Facilitate, you can say facilitate trade. It can also facilitate trading processes. Then it can also facilitate integration. Facilitate what we call integration. Integration. That facilitates integration. Integration, that is economic integration. Economic integration coming together. Those countries would basically be bound together so easily. So when you harmonize tariff among those communities, the benefit will be simplified trading process. We have cost reduction. People will comply. Nobody will want to not pay tariff. Facilitate trading process. That is simplified. That is just simplified. Facilitate integration. Countries coming together. That's it. So I want to go to August. We go to August. August 2024. Then you get to April. Then the rest you will have. So send for me August. August was sent. Forward that paper again on August. Nimeomba on August. Forward for me that August. Then we revise April. Then we close there. Then we close. We don't want somebody to say they were never taught. We want you to say that you were taught. August 2024. I was revising 2025 and 2024. August 2024. So we have the August 2024. There's a question I think we have skipped somewhere, but a very good question. A very good question. There's a question that we've skipped somewhere. there's a question somewhere that has not been. Anyway, we are going to look for it. So we have question 4. So question 4 says, explain the following terms as used in taxation. Explain what we call the following terms. The following terms, we say as used in what's called in taxation. Explain the following terms. We will get somewhere. Explain the following terms. Benefits of, there's a question that touched on benefits of having goods in a bonded warehouse. But anyway, we will look for it. So explain the following terms as used in taxation. Number 1 is, we have one, we call it, one is duty drawback. Duty drawback. Have I taught this? Do you have that in our notes? Duty drawbacks. Do you have it? Yes, we have it. You know that refund of duty for goods that are imported, then exported immediately, or used in production that are later exported. So in exam, there's always some things that you do not have. Like for that particular year, there's what called sufferance worth. What they call the sufferance worth. So on sufferance worth, we know that any place, we call it any place. When you talk about sufferance worth, is any place other than, we call it the approved, other than what's called the approved, any other place other than the approved, place of loading, place of what we call loading, other than the approved place of loading, or unloading, any other place other than the approved place of loading or unloading, and you say which the commissioner, we call it which the commissioner may allow, we say the goods to be loaded or what we call unloaded. So this is a place other than the approved place for loading or unloading, where the commissioner can basically allow the goods to be loaded or unloaded. So a place other than the approved place for loading and unloading, that the commissioner can basically allow what we call loading and offloading of goods. Hiyo iko sawa. Tubonyeze yes tafadhali. Are we together on that? Perfect. So then we have what we call import declaration fee. Import declaration fee. What do you call the import declaration fee. We have what's called the import declaration fee. So when you touch on import declaration, it's tied to IDF. You know, IDF, import declaration, for any person must fill that. So for that form, you fill it and you pay IDF fee. Paid on goods, all goods imported, paid on all goods, we say imported, call imported, into what call into the country, into what call the country, for home use. So the rate, if you look at the idea for those who are importing, the rate is coming 2.5, is 2.5% of what you call of the value of import. So is a fee that is paid to all goods imported in the country for home use. The value is about 2.5%, current 2.5% of what you call 2% of what you call of the value of import. Together, 2% of the value of import. There's a good question. I don't know whether it was this year, but there was a good question that I wanted us to. There was a good question that I wanted us to look at. There was a good question. Let me check if it was. Before we revise the last, then we move to something else. Something that it's like we skipped it. Let me check December. Yes, we are moving to April, but I'm checking something. There's a question that I need us to do something about. The question that we skipped, I can just remember it. Let me just check back. Seems not to be there. Let me just check the last one. Then we revise the April 2024. April 2025. Let me check that. Yes, there was a good question that we have. April 2025, give it to me. Question 5, yes, this I just noticed. I can always tell when I miss something, I can always tell. Yes, I can always tell when I miss something. So analyze 4 reasons. Look up a very good question. Analyze what 4 reasons. Analyze 5A. Analyze 4 reasons why important store goods in a bonded warehouse. Reasons why importer stores goods in what you call in a bonded warehouse. Why would an importer store goods in a bonded warehouse? Why would an importer store goods in a bonded warehouse? In a bonded warehouse to allow him time altogether. First of all, it will allow you time to do what? To look for money to pay for those taxes. That's the benefit. But again, also packaging. There is also packaging to ensure there is also benefits of packaging, repackaging of those goods to make sure that they last for long. So those goods are basically preserved altogether. Those goods are basically preserved. Apart from those two, what are the benefits of why an importer would have goods in a bonded warehouse? Why would an importer? We say it gives you enough time to basically look for goods, to look for money to pay for duty as one of the benefits. Why you would store goods in a bonded warehouse. Apart from that, for security, perfect for security. Apart from security, apart from the security issues, apart from security issue, apart from security issue, apart from security issue, apart from, because that question can come. If it comes this time, I don't want you to miss that altogether. I don't want you to miss that question. So for price stabilization, allow the price. We can also have price stabilization. Some price stabilization. It gives us time for price to stabilize. Are we together? Value additions like repackaging. So you have value addition, like the repackaging, value addition, we have cash flow problem, especially when it gives you time when you have cash flow problems, you can get time to get the money and make the teaching. Then say comply with the regulatory requirements. Comply